just do this. I can't focus the camera down because my bendy tripod broke. The holder for the phone broke. I'm getting so sick and tired of replacing the same stuff every year because nobody makes it any decent.
I'll keep all your
And if they
passwords
say,
safe.
well, get the good stuff, you get what you pay for. Well, here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. Oh, I better put it on live chat. Is everything is crap now. Everything is made in China unless you want to pay 10 times the price, right? So, my mouth is all chewed up. I've got this box here. Whoops. This box here and just a little bit left from the other box. I dumped the box from outside in the porch in here because I knew it was going to get going moldy. All right, let's pull this up. Hey, hey, hey. So, this is what I got out of the dehydrator. This was probably one full box. Look at that. This was probably at least 15 pounds of carrots. So, everybody knows that I was waiting for my disability tax credit, and I was given to understand it was going to be close to $10,000. And somehow, Revenue Canada went back through all my taxes, and for 10 years that I've paid all my taxes. So my disability tax rebate should have been close to $10,000. And then after they did that, they deducted a whole bunch of stuff. So I got a check for $3,600. Now, yes, I'm grateful for that check. And I'm past being upset that it wasn't what I expected it to be, because expectations are resentments waiting to happen. But here's what's really pissing me off. This was a government check. A government check. Now, back 30 some years ago, when I was on welfare and babysitting and claiming it, I could get my mother's allowance check 2 days early. It would come in the mail. And then I would take it to the nearest grocery store. I'd get my son in his stroller and we'd walk over to Foodland. And they would cash my check as long as I spent 15% of my check on groceries. That was not difficult to do because I was shopping for the month. And they would give me the cash in change. Okay? Now, those were mother's allowance checks. They weren't even like Revenue Canada. This was a Revenue Canada check. So Howie deposited it on Tuesday. And they said, oh, no, 3 to 5 business day hold. I went, no. That's a government check. Like it's a Revenue Canada check, right? So they released $1,000 of it. And I thought, well, fine, that, the rest will be here in a couple of days, right? So I gave Howie some money for his axle to be replaced. He's on the hunt now for an axle. I gave him the money to put on his card so we could go out to see Big Sugar on October 16th. Those tickets were $217 for the two of them. However, that is only an 85-person venue. So ain't no worries about me trying to find a comfortable seat. We can make dinner reservations because we couldn't afford our vacation because we didn't get back our $10,000. This is our mini vacation. So I fully expected to have the rest of my check released today, right? So that I could, I need to get my teeth fixed, and I couldn't make the appointment. I have teeth that have to be removed. I want to buy the boil and set dentures, at least to give me something in my mouth until I can afford dentures. So I phoned the bank today because my money still wasn't released. Well, I don't know. I don't know, Joe. We don't know. He got a check in May or June, and we figured that was it. It was like $1,300. So, but we're not sure because Revenue Canada is not clear. We're not sure if that was a refund and he has to pay back Revenue Quebec, or if that was his money from Revenue Canada for being my caretaker, right? Because he is. I couldn't live here without Howard being here, right? So I phoned the bank, credit union, and said, when is my money going to be released? Why hasn't it been released? And they went and they did all the verification of who I was and all that stuff. And they said, oh, well, there's been a 3 to 5 business day hold on it. I said, yeah, and we've already given you $1,000 of it. I said, well, thank you so much for giving me $1,000 of my money. I'd get a little pissed at this point. I said, I'm supposed to be grateful because you gave me a piece of my money. So they said, well, I can try. I will escalate it. La 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 la, and I'll call you back if we can do anything. So I waited a couple of hours. Nothing moved in my bank account. Nothing. So I phoned again. And this time, I got, they said, no, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. And I said, well, then you move me on up the line and let me talk to somebody who can. So I got put on hold. I've been on hold or talking to the bank for a total of about 3 hours today. Okay, that's why we're here so late. So now, yes, I'm all about love and light, but I am allowed to get angry when people take advantage. Because you see, if you put a $3,600 check in the bank and they put a hold on it, even for a week, that money sits and accumulates interest for them. Okay? So, so I got moved up to someone who could to the next person up the line, and they said, can you send us a picture of the check? I said, no, I can't send you a picture of the check. My husband walked into the branch with check in hand and deposited it at the teller, so there wouldn't be any of this bullshit. How can I give you a picture of the check? Right? Well, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. All I can do is ask you if you want to, you have to talk to the branch that deposited the check. And it's not my branch because our branch is downtown. And Howie, when he has to do any work at that bank, he goes to the one on Clyde. So they sent me through to the bank, and of course you go through. Press 1 if this. Press 2 if you know the name of the person. Press 3 if you want to be put through to the next available agent. So I pressed 3, and then they put me on hold for 5 minutes and came back and said, all of our current blah 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 are busy. Would you like us to call you back? Would you like to leave a voicemail? Or would you like to try again? So 5 times I hit the 3 to go be tried through, right? Hey, Linda. I'll say hi to everybody in a little bit, okay? So 3 times, 5 times, I went and hit the press 3. And it kept bouncing me around, and they knew it. They knew. So what I did was I actually looked up the branch number and I phoned. And I got the same runaround, so I left a nice message. I said, this is who I am. This is my phone number. And I want you to release my money. My husband took it in a federal government check for my disability tax credit. My husband took it into the teller on Tuesday. And now they're telling me, oh, the last person I talked to said it's on hold now till the 25th of September. That's next Friday. Next Friday. And I said, this is totally unacceptable. Now you're telling me that my check is on hold until the 25th of September. Do I need to get a lawyer to get my money that the government has sent to me out of my credit union, out of my account? Do I need to get a lawyer? Because if so, it wouldn't be the first time. And I hung up. Gave him my name and my phone number at the end and at the beginning. It's absolutely insane. Childhood friends, Connie and Pat. We're not talking Connie Stevens, right? And who's Pat? No, I can't be patient when my mouth is sore. I can't be patient when I now have to buy wood from somebody I've never bought wood from before, because my standing order for 5 cords this year, he sold. He didn't tell me, he didn't phone me and say, are we still good for 5 cords? Instead, he just sold all the wood. And when I said, okay, can I get my 5 cords? He said, sorry, I sold it all. Right? Okay. Connie! Okay, Pat who? Pat, I don't remember. Hearing aid company, same thing. AI, yeah, right. But like, seriously, right? I was on. Are you back? Pat! Oh my God, hi! Patsy! I got it! You said Pat, I'm used to Patsy. I heard Pat, I've got Patsy in my head. What are you guys doing? Are you back on the street? I mean, absolutely. Hey, Lindsay. So, I mean, this is absolutely nuts. You got somebody, and that's another thing. The fact that I qualified for 10 years retroactive, and I've paid all my taxes over those 10 years, and they still seem to think they can get away with giving me for 10 years of disability tax credit payments. That's one a year. You're going to try and tell me that I'm only entitled to $360 a year? Oh, and guess why all the government checks are being put on hold? Because recently, last month or so, they sent out, we are vacationing Calabogie. Oh, nice, hill country. I had the same 10 years back, and that was for back tax credit and disability, and I did not get 10 grand. Well, Calabogie's beautiful country. So I just get over my disappointment about that, but now they're not releasing my money to me. And here's the reason why. Carney or Trudeau or somebody, or on Trudeau's order or whatever, the government sent out a bunch of $200 checks to people. Now, hear me, folks. I haven't had a tax refund since I started work on YouTube. Okay, I haven't had a tax refund. Okay, so but I've always paid my taxes. So they go back 10 years through my tax, and oh, we're giving you a refund of $3,600. And all those $200 checks, some went right into people's bank accounts, but those who got the checks, a shit ton of them bounced. Government checks. This is why my check is being put on hold. Because the government can't, it bodes pretty ill for our current government when the bank won't even cash its checks until they clear. Well, I don't want to change banks because it's my credit union. And I can't get into another credit union. Yes, Government Canada checks bounced. That's what the first guy told me. And I said, I don't care. It's still my money. So what are you doing in Calabogie? Hey, Andrew from Yorkshire. Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to go to the dentist this week and get these teeth removed because this one's so loose that I'm having a hard time talking because sometimes when I close my mouth, it ends up in front of my top teeth and it hurts. It hurts. Hey, Renita, how's it going, darling? You know, and I want to order some wool fabric for Arthur's quilt because I don't have enough. I don't have enough. So I need to buy more. And wool is not cheap. So I wanted to go to a thrift store tomorrow and see if I could find some wool, actual wool shirts. Right? We're starving tomorrow. We have a timeshare here, Mom and I. How is your mom? How's your dad? Yeah, we have a motor home that now I can't afford to fix. It needs new flooring. It needs a new motor and canopy. Those are the very least of the needs of my motor home. Oh, good. Well, give him my love. Make sure you tell Cameron to send him a big hug from me. I've got a soft spot for him. My husband was paying way too much when he worked for my uncle. For 10 years, he paid in as a single person instead of married. Still pays no federal tax because they have so much of his money. He's retired. God love him, eh? He still got that 57 Chevy? I get off on 57 Chevys. But, yeah. It's really, it's pretty bad when you get a government check and you can't even rely on the bank to cash it. He's got two of them. His and hers. Oh, nice. Nice. I prefer my pickup truck. I prefer my Dodge, which needs a tail light repaired. I'm just ticked off. Okay, now that I've ranted, I'm done. How is everybody doing? Everybody say hi so I can shout you out on the participants list. So I'll give you a couple of minutes for everyone to say hi. I'm just sitting here peeling carrots for dehydrating. Gracie's doing really well. She's asleep on my chair right now. The vet really couldn't tell us anything, but you know what we think it was? It was the kibble. Ever since we took her off kibble and found a canned food she likes, Yes, she ate raw, but then she stopped eating raw. She didn't want it anymore. But there were, you know, she never liked kibble. There was only one kibble that we could ever feed her that she would eat. And then she stopped eating that. So we're like, oh, it's her pancreas. It's this, it's that. So once we took her off the gabapentin that they were giving us for pain for her, and I have tramadol, and from 5 years ago, right? And don't tell me that, you know, pharmaceuticals lose their crap, because they don't. Not for a very long time. They're good for years and years. And I give her 3 times a week at night, I give her an eighth of a tramadol. An eighth of a tramadol. Okay? 1/8 to 1/4. And she is gaining weight. She's eating Purina 1 canned food. But she doesn't like the stew, the kind with the gravy and the bits. She doesn't even like canned food, but it's not because she doesn't like the food. It's because she has a blunt muzzle. And when she eats it, it gets in her whiskers. And then she runs and rubs her face all over the carpet. It's nasty. Army Surplus has army blankets for sale. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, everybody said hi. Let me just pop out. Let me pop out the participants list here. Holy smokes. Here we go. Participants list. Seashell, aloha, darling. Carol Renigler. Is it Renigler or Ranigler? Shandy. Hang on a second. I got to move this up a bit. Connie. Hi, Connie. Hi, Patsy. Edie Murray. By the way, folks, Connie and Patsy, I went to school with them when we moved to Apsley when I was in grade 7. So that's how long we go back. Edie, Happy Guy Jack, Joanne Anderson, Joanne Parrish, Jazzy Just Me, Kathy Ponder, hello love, Kel Storm, Lena, Linda Bop, hello my darling, Lindsay, Our Journey Homestead, let me see, Pauletta Garrick, oh my god, Pauletta, Garrick, Renita Madrid, Rosie Slade, S. Bender, Samantha Johnson, Shashi, Sue Hagen, and Suze B. And is that everybody? That's everybody. So, yeah, that's my life right now. Okay, I gotta bring the chat all the way back down. God, this laptop is so slow. All right, hang on. Whoops. Ranagoer? Ranagoer. Really? I would have really put hands down on Renigler, but I think that's an odd sounding name. Ranagoer. Okay. Okay, Linda. Hi, Journey. Joanne Anderson. Samantha Johnson. Kel Storm. How's everybody doing? So much for my big Costco shopping. But the tickets for seeing Big Sugar. Oh, yeah, she's all that. Sugar in my coffee. Oh, yeah, makes me mean. I can't drink coffee, so 85-person venue. That's something to celebrate right now. And we're going to make dinner reservations and have dinner first. I don't know what my teeth situation is going to be like come October, so I'll probably be getting the spaghetti. But I can't complain, because when they did with some of the money they did release, the 2 for $10 or 2 for $20 T-bone steaks were on sale again at Food Basics. So I made Howie, I said, go buy. So he phoned me and he said, well, there's 4 packages that are pretty good. And I said, well, get as many as you can that look worth the money. So he ended up getting 10 steaks. And for all you who are out wondering, no, I can't chew it. I have this much chewing space. I know it looks like I have teeth, but I have no molars that connect. None. So I just kind of rip it apart I grab a piece and I rip it apart. It's not pleasant to watch, so I won't eat steak in public. But, and whatever I can't chew, I just get as much of the flavor out of it as I can, and I give the rest to Gracie. She's over there sleeping. Oh, yeah, she's all that. Well, Ranagoer. Well, you know, God, that reminds me of the good old days. Just kidding! There's actually 4 of them. It'll all come out in the wash. But that just shows you, even what the banks think of our federal government right now. They don't trust the government checks. That's just insulting. As all get out. Hey, Paula, how's it going? Got a whole box of dried organic seaweed instant noodles. Ooh, 25 packages for £6. The date is really short, but it's dried and vac packed, so no, it's not going off anytime soon, honey. If you want things like, you know, ramen and cookies and all that to last longer, if you're buying them for, like, Howie found me a packet of like social tea cookies in the but when I opened them, they were like, ugh. It was just, you couldn't even, they were just stale and nasty. But yeah, if you open this, you take them out of the sleeves and put them in vacuum bags and seal them, or put them in jars with an oxygen absorber. You know what I mean? They'll last for years. After it's cooked, the food in your grinder with some gravy. Grinding it up is basically already chewed. Yeah, put it up in the grinder. I would put it, you know, in the bullet, yeah. But I wouldn't add gravy, because if it's ground up, it's going to taste pretty good. I am one of those people who would love, if I could afford it, I would try the carnivore diet. I would try the carnivore diet. You know why? I could eat steak and eggs every day without a problem, if I had the teeth for it. Don't have the teeth. Teeth have always been my pride, and I guess pride goes before a fall, because they are falling out. They are falling out. So I might have to really get medicated on some edibles and then just grab it and go twist. It's going to hurt, but then so does every time I try to chew something and it hits that tooth. It's like, right? Monday, I had a half-hour stretch session with a physical therapist and had a profound effect on my regular physical therapy sessions. I was able to perform much better Tuesday and today. Oh, that's great. Mark, where's Mark? Hi, Mark. Oh, Mark, lighten up. You've already apologized. If you apologize more than, you know, if you apologize more than 3 times, it starts to lose its punch, okay? So don't worry about it. I can't even remember what we talked about. Oh yeah, something to do with me giving Howie mad money. I don't give it to him. It's his money, right? You think if I didn't give him money over and above his coffee and gas money every week, if there's money left over after the bills, after the groceries, after gas, his gas and coffee, then yeah, we split it. And I put some on a loan or whatever, or buy something I need, and he does the same. But guess what? I'm starting to pay double payments on a loan to get it out of my way. Before I'm deed. Hey, Phoebe! Gotta go to a funeral, second one this week. Oh, honey. Oh, get this. They have released Mary Jane from the hospital until they get a surgeon. Because she was on the surgical floor of Oshawa Gen, and they had her on intravenous, they had her on a catheter, and they had her on pain meds. And they're basically doing the same thing, but they're doing it at home because they need the bed, right? So she's got a nurse coming in twice a day. She's got her personal support worker coming in 3 times a week for extra hours. But they're still waiting for her to go to be. They're still waiting to transport her to Toronto to do her bowel surgery. Oh yeah, well, you know what? And Joe says, and eventually the banks want to get rid of cash and go digital. Well, here's the problem. You know what? They're not making it easy on themselves, are they? Because get this. I get money in a check and they don't want to release it for me. The last thing I want to do is put more money in that bank. So I'm gonna start stashing cash. Better yet, I think I'm gonna start buying gold and silver when I can afford to. Right? Your brother's wake on Saturday. Jeez. Well, we're going to my cousin Susie's celebration of life on the 27th. We had my brother's last summer. And, you know, anybody else think that the population is shrinking and not of our own? I watched a whole bunch of things on jabs. And they've done a study showing, they have an actual study from the 60s where they did a clinical trial, and the ones that were the kids that were unvaccinated had less problems with autism, because they're putting mercury and stuff in the bodies. It's just nuts. I'm going to buy some gold backs. They're actually gold in small denominations. You can use them like paper money. Joanne, is that American or Canadian? Or I guess gold is gold. And that's something, when we remove the gold standard has been removed from our banks. So what does that mean? Okay. It means the money that the bank lends you is not backed by gold. Everything in the bank is now digital. Okay? And if you want to take out $5,000 of your own money in cash, they won't give it to you unless you tell them what it's for. Again, does anybody else want to start buying gold and keeping it at home? At least gold, you can say, well, this little piece is worth, say, $25. If I break that in half, there's $12.50, right? My morale is now eating rabbit food. I hate it. What's a Monero? Oh no, they didn't just replace with the immigration. Millions. We had roughly a cap at 151,000 a year of vetted people from immigration coming in as immigrants. Doctors, engineers, nurses, people who were going to contribute to society. But Trudeau opened the floodgates to more than 1 million a year, and they haven't stopped coming. Check out Noble Gold. Okay. Oh, weight loss drug. Now, see, I'm doing my absolute best to get off of pharmaceuticals because I can't get off my lorazepam that I use for insomnia. I'm down to 20 a month. Sometimes I take a half a pill. Sometimes I take a whole one. Sometimes I try and go without. Usually a sleepless night there. But it is causing, I'm having some cognitive issues, and that's because I have fibromyalgia, so we get brain fog. I'm on lorazepam, which can hasten early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. And I medicate with marijuana because I'm allergic to all opiates. And I can't have by the mouth anti-inflammatories. So out of the fibromyalgia, I have no control over. My mood meds, do they cause a problem? No. The fibromyalgia, I have no control over. My medicinal herbal medicine is all I get, aside from muscle relaxers and Tylenol, to deal with fibromyalgia and severe arthritis, right? So the only thing I have real control over trying to get rid of to help my cognitive ability is the lorazepam. That's like Ozempic, right? Due to the fact that we use silver in everything, hospital equipment, computers, and everything. That makes sense. No, you can't eat gold or silver, Joe, but you can trade it. And that's another thing, right? If you want things to barter, start. Now, I don't drink coffee. The coffee, I saw Tim Hortons coffee on sale. $29 for a can of Tim Hortons coffee at Walmart. And I don't normally shop at Walmart anyway. But here's the thing, is I watched this guy at Starbucks, who was looking at Starbucks coffee in Costco. And it's not Starbucks coffee, it's Nestle's coffee, who has paying Starbucks to use their label. It's not even Starbucks coffee. A can of Tim Hortons coffee at Walmart was $29.99. $34.99. See, so my point is I can't go off my depression meds unless I was in like locked down at a medical facility and they took me off and they controlled it, because I would have a complete psychotic break. I've been on these pills for 32 years. You can't just go off that stuff, the mood meds. So I'm on mood meds, muscle relaxers, and lorazepam, and marijuana. And that's why I got really upset when that doctor at the Wakefield Hospital laughed at me and said, marijuana's not medicine. And I just went like that, and Howie took one look at my face, because he was already pissing me off, because he had poked at my knees. I couldn't walk, folks. Howie took the day off work to get me into the hospital so we could x-ray, because I thought I had broken something in my left knee, and my right knee was no better, right? So he laughed and he poked around my knee, and I said, Jesus, like he hurt me, right? And he said, oh, marijuana. He said, so what do you take for pain? I said, Tylenol and muscle relaxers and marijuana. Well, marijuana's not a medicine. And I went, I beg to differ. And Howie said, you know what? He said, my wife was given a medical marijuana license by the government in 2013. That both him and I, we had to be fingerprinted, we had to have our records checked, we had to inform the fire department, we had to inform the local police department. I had to have security cameras because Howie was my legal grower. And you tell me we went all through all that because it's not medicine? So that's the same doctor that said he was going to put a finger in to check my hemorrhoids and went right up to the knuckle with 2 fingers. I never want to go. That doctor has made it so that I do not want to go back to the Wakefield Hospital in an emergency situation. Right? Must be my bitchin' day. Because that doctor has treated me callously twice. And when I hurt my back, do you remember when I hurt my back? And I went to stand up from my desk and I had an explosion of pain go right across my lower spine, hip to hip. But it started in my lower spine. And I lost my bladder. The pain was so bad, I stood up and went, and I lost my bladder, right? It was like almost like an electric shock. And I phoned the doctor because I needed to renew my pills. And they said, oh no, you need to make an appointment with your doctor. So I phoned my doctor's office and said, make me an appointment for the phone and la 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 la. And she said, what's going on? And I said, because she said, you got to come in. You have to come in for your doctor's appointment. And I said, I can't. I'm right now I'm bedridden. She said, what do you mean you're bedridden? And I told her what happened to my back. I said, I'm making it to the bathroom and stuff with a walker. But that's it. That's all I can do. I can't even stand. She said, you need to call an ambulance and go to the hospital. I said, never again. I'll never take an emergency pain situation to the Wakefield Memorial Hospital, the Gatineau Memorial Hospital in Wakefield. I never will. And here's the problem with that. Here's the problem. It became legal in 2015, but that's not the point. Here's my point. If someone has been treated or made to feel less than, uncomfortable, or ashamed for showing up at the hospital in pain, not once, but twice, and that person now has had a pain issue that should have been ambulance and go to the hospital, they refuse because they don't like the way they were treated. Now, A, what does that say about the hospital? And B, that means more people like me who refuse to go to the hospital in an emergency situation because they're afraid of being treated the way they were treated twice before. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. I know Tylenol is poison. I only take it once or twice a day at the most, but I take it every night. I have to take it with a muscle relaxer or I won't be able to roll over in bed. It's like that all over Canada. The guy can barely speak English. It took him saying radiogram 3 times in a heavy French accent before I realized he was talking about an x-ray. Hey, Claire! Bill Gates gave a TED Talk years ago stating that if everyone gets vaccinated, the population will go down. Of course he is banned from Africa and India. Yeah. I can't read the rest of that statement because I'll get in trouble. So, so much for me going shopping or anything the like how I'm going to send Howie grocery shopping tomorrow. And then I was going to get him to take me to Costco on Saturday. And here's the thing. I have a celebration of life to go to on the 27th. And if they don't release my money till the 25th, I can't get a room. I can't, If I had known it was going to happen like this, I would have used that $1,000 that they released to me so kindly differently. Trump just left us in the UK. I don't even know what that means, Mark. All I can see, Mark, is that, yes, he can be a loudmouth schmuck, and he can behave like a toddler sometimes, but he is the president of the United States, and he is making sure that he's looking after his country first. If our countries did that, if all of our countries in the civilized world did that, then we would all benefit from industry in our home. But free trade opened us up to rape. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that word. But free trade, the way Brian Mulroney, and that's one conservative I'd like to just, throat punch, but I wouldn't, of course. But He opened up our country so that we could get our industry cheaper elsewhere, and all of our production went off world or off country. Not all of our production, but enough to make it that our world here in Canada, jobs are slim. Jobs are slim because we don't have enough industry. Then you couple that with massive immigration of a million people or plus a year for over 10 years, and they're coming in, living the Canadian dream. And believe me, I got that on TikTok, talking directly to an immigrant, right? Now we got people living in tent cities. Nothing's getting built. Nothing's getting built, and Canadians are living in tent cities. And if you can't cash a government check without them putting a hold on it, wow, is our country ever suck right now? That was the tailgate of a dump truck. They're doing something busy next door. Liver transplant list. I'm 4th stage non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. Oh my God, honey. Canadians are now being refused jobs because the government pays 40% of the immigrant's salary. Yep. And they're now starting to question driver's licenses because guys are coming into this country and have truck licenses. They don't qualify the same way they do here in Canada. Okay, a guy in India doesn't have the same qualifications as a guy in Canada who drives an 18-wheeler. And those accidents have gone up 500% because there is now proof that licenses are being issued without the proper qualifications because they're being paid to issue them. So when we're coming across the bridge the other day, Briar and I on Monday, and we were delayed a half an hour because there was an accident on the bridge. And as we got by, like we finally got through, there was a foreign woman and her car was pointing the wrong way and it had hit the concrete barrier. And I went, well, that's not surprising. And Briar went, Mom! And he said, that's racist. I said, no, Briar. No. People are pouring into this country and being given cars and licenses and stuff. Some of these people have never driven in their lives. Some of these people have driver's licenses. Some of these people have driver's licenses. But they're not qualified the same way they would qualify if they had to if they had to come here and prove that they were capable of driving, that would be different. But that's not happening. They're just, handing them their licenses because they already have one. Have you ever driven in Cairo? We wouldn't do it. And we're experienced drivers because nobody uses stoplights. Nobody uses stop signs. Nobody uses signals. I am not kidding. They go beep, 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 beep. So glad we didn't drive when we were in Egypt because that was in Cairo and it was massive chaos. But everybody seemed, hey, I'm moving in here, beep, beep, beep. You know what I mean? Nobody used a signal. Nobody used stop signs or lights. She can't be discharged. She's in too much pain and she can't take care of herself. What's going on? They're not trying to discharge her. Okay, hang on a second. They put Mom on the list this morning and by 12:30, 1:45, they took her off and the doctor just called. They want to discharge her and do the biopsy as an outpatient. They don't have time. Miss Mary Jane's being discharged. Well, she waits for a surgeon to do her bowel surgery. Her kidneys are at 20%, 21%. She has a neobladder. She can take nothing by mouth without throwing up, not even fluids. And the bowel that is constricted, the part of her bowel that is constricted, they can't even get a scope through. And she's been on the surgery floor waiting to be transported to Toronto since Thursday. It's been a week. And now they're sending her home to be looked after by nurses coming in twice a day and her thing. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts, Tigger. And I'm telling you, I know what you're going through. Hey, Grogus. So I got called racist by my own child when I showed that there was no surprise that the accident was caused. Nobody else got hurt. Nobody got hurt, and I'm great, and I'm thankful for that. Because as we went by, I said, "Well, nobody was hurt. I'm grateful for that." And Briar goes, "Are you?" I said, "Briar, you're just, he said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm far left." I said, "Obviously." I said, "But here's the problem. You're not listening. You're not listening. You're just saying that because I saw a woman in a hijab and full clothed, right, that I wasn't surprised that she had an accident. You call that racist. When the truth is, and I tried to explain about the driver's licenses, truck accidents, 18-wheeler accidents have gone up 500%. Don't take it from me. Do your own research and use the Brave search, not Google. So, yeah. So when and we had differing opinions on Charlie Kirk too. And so when I went to, because he said this, he said that, I said, honey, you're hearing misquotes. You're hearing misquotes. Yeah, he said this, but he also said this. Nothing dangerous about that. So I sent him 3 TikToks on the very things that he was accusing Charlie Kirk of. But I said, watch the whole clip. And he came back with, I'm not going to watch that. So here's the problem with the far left. It isn't that they have differing opinions. They won't even listen to critical thinking. They won't. Their opinion is more important. Their feelings are more important than the truth. They would rather not see the truth. Thank you, Sherry. Everybody note that. I can't say that out loud. I haven't decided to have a transplant. I'll be 69 in November, and I want younger people to have my liver. My boy is having a fit on me. Do you know what, Pauletta? Take the liver if you can. Okay? My cousin Mary Jane had a friend offer her one of her perfectly healthy kidneys. Now, the woman was 60-some years old, and she's in great shape. And you know what the transplant doctor said? The kidney doctor said? They won't take it. And she said, why? Said, because you have too many outlying conditions that would make a kidney transplant useless for you. She said, if someone's giving me a kidney, isn't that going to help with my bladder? Isn't that going to help with my bowels? Isn't this going to help with my overall health if my body can cleanse itself better? You have too many underlying conditions. So she said, that kidney's not going to anybody but me. And they said, well, they won't do it. Isn't that crazy? He had to call for backup and help. Every driver had the same driver's license. Oh my God. So you know what, Pauletta? Do yourself a favor. Do yourself and do us all a favor. Stay on the transplant list. Because in reality, it's going to be God that decides whether you get the kidney or not. Okay? If it comes to you, then there's a reason for it. So please, if you don't go off the transplant list. And if you get a transplant, just say thank you and do it. Read the first part. There's a garbage dump in our county. New Jersey send their crap here. 29 trucks, each with a driver. An officer was to check them. He was feeling lazy, so he was only going to physically check 2. He had to call for backup and help. Every driver had the same driver's license. I actually removed myself from the donors list. I hear most of it goes to black market. What can we believe anymore? Here in Canada, I am not allowed to share news broadcasts on Facebook. My government made that illegal. No. They make it about money. No. We don't want Canadians to hear the truth. And the truth is that Trudeau spent 10 years building a very elaborate coffin for this country. And Carney is the lipstick on the new pig. And he's just here to put the final nail in. Do my boys have their own house? No. Briar's really lucky. Briar's in a co-op now. And now listen, don't say anything negative about my son. He has his own issues. He has his own understandings. Okay? But no, he's in a co-op, thank God. He just got his first apartment at 32 years old. Because he can afford it, because it's a co-op. He got approved for the co-op. Yeah, that's really scary, Edie. That's really scary. So, and my son Arthur just got a 2-bedroom apartment, but they can't class the smaller bedroom as a bedroom because it doesn't have a window. But he uses that for Edward, and he puts there's a soft light and a white noise machine for him and stuff. But he pays half of his income in rent. You know, I mean, while other people, you know, get to use the system to their advantage. And I'm not necessarily talking about immigrants. I mean, when I was on Mother's Allowance, I worked at Zellers, and I declared everything, of course. I was also in subsidized housing. So I declared anything I got, whether I was babysitting or working at Zellers. And when Howie moved in, again, our rent went up to the market rate because I moved in with a man, right? But, you know, do you know what we paid for our first house? $51,000. Do you know what we paid for this place? $33,000. Try and get a house for that now. Mind you, this place, you know, we've done a lot to it. Howie's rebuilt it from the ground up. And we've, you know, added addition and new roof and all that fun stuff. A window, it's because they've got to be, to call it a bedroom, you got to be able to have a door in and a way out being like a window. It's ridiculous, but it works because his son doesn't live with him full time, so. And the house he was asked to move out of still sits empty. Yeah, it's a safety thing. Yeah, it is a safety thing. Oh, I just put peels in there. So, you know, I'm just going to stay here and peel my carrots. And when I'm done dehydrating all these carrots, I'm going to get another bag. And I'm going to dehydrate some more, but I'm also going to chop them up in chunks like this, blanch them, and freeze them for like when I'm doing a roast or something. Well, what I would have wanted to do for Christmas this year was I wanted to replace these piecework granite countertops with stainless. And I want a nice big, deep commercial divided sink. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. But that's not the point. Even if, that's another thing. That's another thing. We wanted to buy out I spent 3 years doubling payments on my mortgage so I could buy out the loan, which was at a high interest rate from a loan company, Sharks. And I paid my loan. I cut my mortgage in half. And then all of a sudden the bank says, no, we don't want to do that. So I said, oh, okay, you don't want to do that. They said, okay, your mortgage is going to be $500 every 2 weeks. I said, oh, really? Well, yeah, you only have 3 years left to pay on it. I said, really? So how far can I stretch that out for? And they went, why would you want to do that? I said, because I need every cent I have to pay the loan. You won't take over. I said, even if you gave me 8%, it would still be cheaper and paid off sooner than the loan would be now. But you guys won't do it. So we could stretch that last bit out over 16 years. I said, do it. I said, you guys are done getting favors from me. My son told my son when he pulled in the driver with his dual, it was his 21st birthday gift to himself. I had a hard time with you having a vehicle that cost more than my first house. Really, eh? So, you know the electric car mandate's not going to happen, eh? 2035, kiss my butt. They're trying hard to get everybody into 15-minute cities. And if you think digital currency and digital ID is the way to go, think about what I'm going through right now. And did you hear about Japan? They were trying out a new digital system, and they accidentally wiped out the bank accounts of 2 million people. It's that easy. One mistake. So, I'm going to stock my My garden didn't work this year. You know, I'm still going to continue to stock my pantry to the best of my ability. And I'm going to enjoy the show, the Big Sugar Show. Why? Because that's the only entertainment I'm getting this year. Right? Like the concert that Howie and Briar went to last night, Gojira and Korn, that's a yearly thing that Briar does for his dad. He draws him a little card. He makes a card good for one concert up to X number of dollars a year. And because of COVID, they couldn't go to concerts for a while, so they've been kind of catching up. So this is their second concert. The last one they went and saw was Clutch, I believe. So, oh yeah, I always keep paperwork. I got taxes going back to before we lived here. So, yeah, well, a lot of people, some people have good gardens, but I've heard nothing but nasty, garden issues all year. So you know what? If I can't rely on my garden, maybe this is God trying to tell me, you know what? You're going to have bad years, because we did. One winter we lost all our we had 2 pregnant goats, both pregnant with twins, and our buck, and we lost a buck and a doe, and we got an emergency C-section on the last doe that was dying, and I got 2 little bucks. And those, and we lost our beehive this year because we had 40 below weather, even though like the vet came and looked. She said, well, there's plenty of nutrition in their hay. They were getting grain, a supplement of grain. You can't give them too much because it'll give them bloat, but they need the extra weight, right? And we lost all our goats except for the 2 babies. So we would have had 7 goats if they had all lived. And I mean, the beehive died too, right? That winter. You have livestock and you have dead stock. I'm just not used to having a garden fail, right? Yes, I have celery out there, but it's only going to be good for like putting in broth and stuff. So I think a lot of it's going to be dehydrated and ground for celery powder, So, oh yeah, we had groundhogs. We've had groundhogs. I think the bears have been at my pear tree because the pears have been shook off the tree, and they're getting eaten. We've had bears, deer, groundhogs, porcupines, turkeys, partridges, horses come down my driveway. Why? Because my property is a safe place energetically, right? So we got to get ready for, and that's another thing. I need to buy arrows because it's almost time to go hunting with the crossbow, and we need arrows, No, cat cradles back. Yeah, I know. Same with my beans. My beans, I only got enough for like 5 or 6 meals, right? I would pick them and it would be enough for us to have a meal. And beans are something I usually grow really voraciously. I'm thinking I hear Howie's car pulling in, but my beans grew, but didn't produce well. My pickling cucumbers went bananas, and I put 4 beds in because last year I didn't get enough out of 2 beds. But guess what? Deer and groundhogs kept chopping my celery off. And then we put a thing out there, a little alarm, but it's too late for the pickles. I had to buy from the farmer's market. So, every little bit that I get, I no longer expect any miracles to come my way. I'm just going to have to make my own. So I'm still going to go to Costco and shop, but I got them 10 steaks in my freezer. So I just now need to get chicken and not Long Island, New York. She came back yesterday. Wow. I have a few beets in my garden. I might just go have a look and see if there's, I planted them twice. I got a few parsnips, but they're not really doing much of anything. And everyone says, "Oh, you play in the same dirt every year." Well, no, we add dirt every year. I added an entire yard of black garden soil from the gardening place to. That's how the sound echoes through the holler, eh? You can hear everything in this ravine. Florida orange crop worse since Great Depression. Freeze them if you can. Well, I've been eating clementines. Oh my gosh. But that's been helping keep things moving in my body. Well, I eat a lot of fruit. But I'll tell you something. I'm tempted to buy a bunch of eggs, but then that wouldn't be fair to Howie either. I got 8 steaks. See what 8 days of steak and eggs would do to me. It would probably put me in the hospital. Put me in the hospital. 1 EMP and it's all gone. Yep, I get that. I read that book One Day After and 1 Year After about an EMP. Books. Books. Actually, no, I don't. That the neighbor that you hear all the construction going on is the person who owns the land all the way around. Like, if you go down my road, if you come down my road and you come in my driveway, the next driveway over owns the land all around me from the road all the way around me up to the road. So I don't know what he does over there. He came over and he introduced himself as our neighbor a year or 2 back. And I think he owns one of the local ski hills. But I've heard a lot of stuff going on over there, but I have no idea what. You drive by, you see 2 horses in the field. I hear guns going off, so they may even have a range. But it's another thing. We have to go back to our gun range because Howie has to sight his rifle. And he's got cataracts in the one eye, and they don't want to do anything for another 2 months. So he's left-handed, and he's going to have to figure out how to shoot out of his other eye. You know? Would an EMP hurt battery stations? That's something I'd need to know. I should look into. That would be a big cyber attack, an EMP. You know, refrigeration goes down, everything goes down. People who rely on refrigeration to look after their medication and stuff, their insulin and stuff, it'd be really bad. They've called her back? What does that mean, Tigger? They've called her back into the hospital? Well, why'd they make her go home in the first place? God, I hate peeling little carrots. It is such a waste of my time. But you know what? It could be worse. I could have no carrots to peel. So I got to be grateful. Let's start talking about gratitude, right? If nothing else, this crap with the government not sending me what I think they owe me, what I was sure they owed me. Like, how can they say, okay, you're qualified for like $9,000 and then send me 3? You know what I mean? No, patient complaint department called her back. And the Woods ban. That's stupid. What do you look? Gracie, it's next door. It's next door. And you've just been out and just came back in before I started the live stream. I'm going to have to start supper soon. Oh my gosh, it's 4:15. All right, folks, I'm going to let you go. And obviously the bank has decided not to phone me back and not to apologize or anything like that. So, yeah. I'm just going to continue to sit here and cut carrots. They're calling the doctor and a general doctor. She's going to find that damn doctor. Good for her. Good for her. Oh yeah, and then she goes right back, settles right back down into my chair. I will call them back tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that. And I had someone, my neighbor, Josie, God rest her soul, tell me that if you did that to me, I'd just put you at the back of the line. Power. This is Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying, I'm just going to sit here and peel carrots. I love you guys. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you soon. It takes forever to peel these itty-bitty little carrots. I love you all. I love you all. And I pray every night, and I thank God for you. I thank God for my husband, my sons, my dog, the roof over my head, the blankets on my beds. But I pray for you too. And thank God for you. Because my life would be a lonely place without you, because I don't like people. I don't like going out too much. It's too peoply out there. Take care. God bless. Boop, boop, boop.